Hey guys, today I have with me Mary J from Mary's Cup of Tea on Instagram. Mary has trained and competed for bikini competitions and prep for fitness photo shoots, but is here now to share the pitfalls that is in this overly glamorized lifestyle that this lifestyle fails to project, which leads to many people ignorantly following an ideal that only shows a fraction of what's really going on in this lifestyle. So the good and the bad and the fucking ugly. So thank you for chatting with me today, Mary, and sharing some of your insight and wisdom that you've picked up along your journey. So Mary, you now help people with overeating and redeveloping a healthy relationship with food because you've been to both extremes of undereating to only 900 calories a day for contest prep, but feeling like complete shit. And then on the other side of the spectrum of overeating to compensate, but also feeling horrible, right?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Kayla. I'm really excited to talk about this because, to be honest, like I've never went really deep. Like I'll do blurbs here and there of like kind of what my experience was, but I've never been able to share from kind of beginning to end and that far in depth. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Yeah.
So we need more people like this sharing the other side of what people don't always see that's going on in all these Fitspo accounts. And yeah, it's good to just speak up. So I would love to hear your story. So if you could share, your past and kind of introduce what you did to overcome it all. I mean, you said that you struggled with physical symptoms such as like digestive problems, loss of menses, hair loss, feeling isolated, mental changes and struggles. Just, yeah, if you could just.
Yeah, so I guess I'll do a synopsis of the beginning. I started competing because I didn't know I had an eating disorder then, but looking back, it would probably be classified as that. When I was like middle school, high school, I started because my boyfriend, who's like super into working out, right? So I'd go to the gym with him. And then I was also a dancer. So I would like go to the gym, then go dance for like 5 hours and only eat a cheese stick. So I guess now that would be called an eating disorder. But at the time I thought like, oh, I'm like so in control. And then I would come home from dance and just eat everything. And this would happen probably about like once a week. So then that's when like bulimia started, right? So then the next day I wouldn't eat all day and it would just be a cycle that would be perpetuated over and over again. So then when I was 16, I switched to a new gym and I actually ran into this lady that I followed on Instagram at the time. And she competed and she was like my role model. And I ran into her at the locker room and I was like, oh my God, I'm your biggest fan. Like I started crying. She had like a few thousand followers and I'm like crying because I thought like she was super famous. And I talked to her about training me, and I was 16 and I started training for my first bikini competition. And it took me a while to kind of get into it, and I felt like such a failure because especially for the first few months when she would send me my program, I couldn't stick with it. And I was like, I was so miserable. I just remember like yelling at everybody. Like I had a boyfriend at the time and I would yell at him and be like, you don't get it. And I would get super emotional and I'd fight with my mom, and my mom is my best friend. So like we rarely fight. And then like eventually what happened was I think me and that boyfriend broke up. So I got like super motivated. I'm like, I'm stepping on stage no matter what. And 3 months later I did that. And I remember my first show, I think I just turned 17. Yeah, I was like fresh, like 3 weeks, 17 and 3 weeks or something crazy like that. And I got on stage and of course you dehydrate yourself to do that. So I was 17. I remember, oh gosh, the protocol was kind of crazy. Like she told me to eat a sweet potato that was like half raw or something like that. Like, I don't know. She was like, make it in the microwave so it's dry, so it'll dry you out. Right. And so at the time I'm like, okay. And then like, she was like, and have a glass of wine before show, but don't drink any water. So, cause alcohol dehydrates your body.
That's so funny. I forgot about that. I drank some wine too. Yeah. And I was eating like dry oats. It was so disgusting.
Yeah. Like literally like, I'll get into the oats later though. That's a whole different story. Yeah. So after that, like I competed, I didn't place I think I placed first, no, not first. I placed second in like novice, which is like the beginner. And then I didn't place in like the big division, but I was so happy. Like I had the body of my dreams. Um, or I thought at the time, I guess. And then after that, the summer, it started being summer, and like people would approach me about either training them or modeling for their clothes or sponsoring their product. And at the time, my Instagram was blowing up because I was posting scandalous pictures of me and my body. And people were like really interested in what I was doing. So that's kind of how my social media got started. And then I started training with somebody else. And so like there was a lot of drama. There's always a lot of drama in the fitness industry, especially between like coaches, like coach to coach and coach to client. Like that's always a huge thing. Like rarely ever do you see somebody, it's not like sports, right? Where it's like, this is your coach and this is the only coach and he's your mentor, he's your everything, he knows what he's talking about. It's like people are always bouncing around, people are talking shit. People like she said, he said, whatever, especially at small studios, which was kind of what my training was like. And it was a studio that was prestigious. I'm not going to say the name, but like I felt like proud and like it was some accomplishment that I was paying them hundreds of dollars a month to train me once a week. And I felt like I was like, yeah, they chose me, which is funny. Yeah, so then I stepped on stage. I had a falling out with that coach, and I did another show that following October. So I was still 17. And yeah, then, that October, that was so because I was switching from coaches to coaches, my like diet and exercise was done by me. So what I preached was, like balanced meals and eat your food and train hard, right? Which right now it kind of seems healthy, like eat food and exercise and you'll be good. Because the people that are actually in the real health industry, not the fitness industry, that's what they do. Like my doctor, she has like a 6-pack. She looks amazing. She has a kid. Like she looks happy. And what she does, she swims and she eats like whatever she wants. Like I always see her like drinking beer and going out to eat. Like it's possible, right? So what I preached was like eat food, train hard. What I did was not eat, train harder, do lots of cardio. So, and it's because it was the fastest way. And I was also in this mindset of I get to prove everybody wrong. I get to like be the best at not eating. I don't know. It's weird. Like I'm sure Kayla, like when you're dieting, it's like the topic of conversation and you start comparing how miserable your diets are.
Oh yeah.
Like did you have that experience?
Oh yeah, we were always talking about how, we were always talking about food, what foods we wish we were eating, how shitty, the chicken tilapia was because that's all we could eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember things like your coach lets you eat chicken. I can only have tilapia. And it was like a moment of pride. Like, ooh, big deal. Yeah. You're eating mercury infested fish. Like, okay.
Yeah, like 6 times a day. I remember going on other accounts and being like, I was seeing them. I think this is when If It's Your Macros started becoming popular. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're eating fruit? Like, how are you eating fruit? Like, how do you have a 6-pack and eating fruit? Because I wasn't allowed to have fruit.
Yeah. I eat fruit like 8 times a day now. Like, I'm not.
Exactly. I remember after like the competition, I went on this binging spree of like grapes and bananas,
Nice. Yeah. Bananas were definitely one of mine. About the dried oats though, when I, after this competition, all I remember, I placed somewhere better and it was a bigger show. So I was proud of myself. I like that October, that day I competed, I remember, this is what I get to reveal that I haven't before. So I want to make it clear, like I never did any drugs. A lot of people do, and that's like huge. And at 16, like I was proposed this by a few different people. So it's not just like one evil person. And, people have their own defense to why, and it's crap. But anyways, so at the time that I asked this guy at my gym, who was this old guy, so he was into the like old school bodybuilding, and he was he was literally like 75 years old. And I asked him, I was like, I don't know how to dehydrate myself. Can you help me dehydrate myself? Which is literally what I said, because that's literally what you do. And so he was like, here, take this. And he gave me what I later found out was called a Lasix.
Yep.
And I don't know. I didn't educate myself on that, because what I did was, it was like a tiny little pill. And I remember being so scared because, like I said, I've always refused anything up to that point. Although I would take a lot of fat burners. Like, fat burners were considered okay, even though like the bullshit that's in that like could probably, sometimes I would even argue that fat burners sold in the store are worse than like the pure drugs that they claim.
It's not regulated.
It's not. None of it's regulated. And it's just a lot of stimulants, and I just remember taking so many. Like, when I wouldn't feel it, I would take them at night because I'd have to like go for my second training session. And it was like, I would call it getting fucked up. I would joke about it, but that's what I was doing. You know? So he gave me this Lasix, and I remember like cutting it in half. I was like, okay, if I only take half, it won't be that bad. Because I think somebody gave me a warning. They were like, this is what like big bodybuilders take. Like, you're a bikini girl, you don't need to take this. Like, you're tiny. This is going to kill you, kind of thing, right? So I took half, thinking that like it wasn't as bad. And that day of my competition, I was like sitting on the floor. Little did I know, when you take pills that dehydrate you, apparently, like this even goes if you're drinking like dandelion root tea, you're still supposed to drink extra water.
Yeah.
That's how like the process goes, is you're supposed to pee everything out. I didn't know that though. So I thought, like, I'm going to take this pill and not drink water. I was sitting on the floor, like my legs are cramping in places like you know how, you know what a calf cramp feels like. But have you ever felt like a quad, like an inner quad cramp? Like, it's kind of crazy. It's a really weird feeling because it's like so deep inside because your quads are so big. So yeah, that happened. And then after that, that's when the roller coaster started after that show.
Mm-hmm. That's when it always happens. Yeah. After the show. That's when all hell breaks loose.
Totally.
I had the same thing. I started waking up with the worst cramps ever. And I mean, you're flushing out all your electrolytes too. And I did the same. I would take diuretics, like just regular over-the-counter diuretics, and those that you were talking about, and not drinking water, and just eating dry foods, and just so many things.
Yeah, I like really don't like any supplement stores, like, unless you're going in there for freaking vitamin B or vitamin D or just like one single vitamin, then like everything else on the shelves is crap. So yeah, that was interesting. After that, what's funny is, though, I will say the first time I competed, I didn't really rebound. Like, I do remember being a little bit psycho, and I remember like, you know, being super committed to not rebounding, but I can't say that I was like starving but I was still kind of maintaining my weight. So that goes to say, like, one, I was young, so I will give it that, like, you know, your body's kind of more receptive, I guess, when you're young. And then two, it was also the spiritual side of things, which was when I did it that first time, even though, yeah, like I just broke up with my boyfriend and I wanted to get hot, I like did it for myself, if that makes sense. So even when I got off stage, that was, I remember eating, I had like pancakes, I had like food here and there. I wasn't too crazy. I was always a healthy eater, by the way, so I will say that. Like, I'm always like, I love vegetables, and that's like my main food. But then I didn't rebound as bad, and I think it's because, looking back now, I will say that it's like I didn't have much social media following, and I did this for myself. And then my show in October, so like, you know, 7 months from then, when I blew up, like, I don't know, 15,000 followers or whatever it was more for other people, and it was for the coaches and all the drama going on there. Whereas the first time, it was like I was still in high school. It was just me. Like, I was doing my school and I was working out, you know? So it was kind of like, I'm wondering if that had anything to do with how intense the roller coaster was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because now you have a lot more people following you, and so now you have the pressure builds up. So you feel like you don't want to let them down, but you also feel like now you have more to prove to everyone. And, you know, it's like your ego too at the same time is like, oh, like I can't, you know, I'm this way, I can't get any bad or worse, you know, it's just perpetual.
Totally. Yeah, it was a lot of pressure. After that, I like over Christmas, I blew up. Like I remember, I think I gained like maybe 30 pounds
Mm,
after that. So my show was in October, and then November, December was awful. It was like Thanksgiving, Christmas.
mm,
January sucked. Like I just, I'd be so depressed. I wouldn't leave the house for literally weeks. Like, well, the most I probably like didn't leave the house was probably like 5 days, just because I have to go get food and
yeah.
tell my mom I'm alive, kind of thing. But I just remember like sitting in my dark apartment. I kept my apartment really dark at the time because so I had this like tiny little place in Arizona, and it was like my living room and kitchen, my bathroom, and then my bedroom, like all kind of parallel. And my bathroom had a mirror. So going from one to the other, you have to walk by this mirror that's like right here. So I kept my apartment dark because like if I wanted to walk from my bedroom to my kitchen to get water or whatever, I'd have to go by the mirror. So I wouldn't turn the lights on in the apartment because I didn't want to see myself in the mirror. Yeah, I think I was really depressed then. I think that, so in terms of a roller coaster, that low was
Mhm.
probably a lower low than this next part that I'm going to tell you guys about.
Mhm.
Um, because, and I will say it's probably because at that time I was so alone.
Mhm.
And here in this past time when I finally got over it, I moved to a different country. I came out to my friends and family about what I was going through. And I have a really supportive boyfriend now, and my family knows. So, but at that time, it was like I was so alone. I was so depressed. Like I didn't even realize how depressed I was because I guess like when you're in the fitness industry, you don't believe in a lot of things.
Mhm.
Like, here's what people say when they work out a lot. They'll be like, "Oh, like you're just lazy," or "You don't get the grind," or "the grind." Like, fuck this grind. What is this grind? Like, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. People blew up this word or hustle or whatever, and it's stupid. Um, it's really stupid because that's no way to live life. Um, like that's a whole different, I guess, topic of conversation. But so you feel now that I'm in this space where I am now, when I'm like, when I reach out to a friend, let's say I reached out to you, Kayla, and I'm like, I'm feeling down, you wouldn't tell me like, you just don't get the hustle, Mary. Like you would never say that. And that doesn't help. That makes it worse. You would
Yeah.
say things like, it's okay, like you need a mental health day and you're going through a lot and give yourself time. These are all things my naturopath told me. Later on, she was just like, just give yourself time. She's like, just be patient. She's like, you're doing amazing. She's like, you're doing better than I was. Like, this is all perfect. It's divine. Like more encouraging things like that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
even
I
have
don't know.
like right now.
Yeah, no, I can so relate because I just remember like I tried to reach out after too. I felt so alone too, which is kind of interesting because the facade on Instagram or whatever social media makes it look like your life is so perfect, but you
Yeah.
feel so alone. But no, I had the same thing. I just you your body changes so quick. Like you're so used to seeing your body at one specific point, and then like after the competition, it changes so dramatically, and then you're just like you have no time to adjust, and so you fall into like this depression, and it's hard to let go of that. And I remember trying to reach out to people. I was going through a really hard time too, mentally and physically, and people were just like, oh well, you probably just did this or that wrong, or it's it's your fault pretty much is what they were
You did
saying.
a reverse diet. What the fuck does
Yeah.
that even mean?
No, yeah, no, it's just this is what happens when you starve yourself and you do something totally unnatural. This is the effects of it. It's like,
Yeah.
our personalities, we obviously did everything to the T.
Yeah.
So
And that's one thing I do want to just touch on real quick. We're females, and feminine energy as a whole, like how women are always like, why can guys lose weight so fast and stuff? And besides the physiological, which is a huge difference in like how fast their metabolism works, they naturally have higher testosterone. So of course they do lose weight fast. But feminine energy does not thrive off of accountability
mm,
and results and grind. Like it's something that exhausts the feminine flow.
Yeah.
Truly does. So I say, like, you can only be accountable for so long. Like if you're a female, and this isn't like a sexist thing, this is like a real, like, like it's better to go with the flow of nature than it is to fight it your whole life and then to deny it. So the flow of nature is, yes, like there are times in your life where you're going to have to head down and get results and be your own boss and be a bad bitch, right? But most of the time, this is only for a short amount of time. Most of the time, to do stuff like this for an extended amount of time, something like a competition, and then besides the competition after that, trying to maintain it, and then just like trying to keep this body, it's not real in that physically it's not healthy and not possible without drugs, and not right. But it's also like spiritually, it's so against nature
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
be in that space.
Yeah, a lot of people in the fitness world, they tend to take on a lot more masculine tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
And they start comparing themselves to males, and it's like they want to be males, they want to be a part of the guys, and
Yeah.
and it's not as natural. I mean, some people they tend to be more masculine than feminine, but this is just to the extreme.
Yeah.
So you need to find the balance between the masculine and the feminine, because we all have it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would even say not balance, it's not equal, it's harmony.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying like if you're a female, like you're feminine energy, like no, of course there are more people on the masculine side, but it's about the harmony. Like when do you tune into what, and when can you shift your energy? And the only way to have longevity and health and happiness in your life as a female who thrives off feminine energy, I'm not saying like if you have a different way of life, but is to like flow. It's not to count stuff. It's not to be accountable. It's not to grind for an extended amount of time or hustle or push yourself. That's a male thing. Like males as protectors, they go and hunt. They grind. They get shit done. They keep doing it over and over and over again because they have to feed the family. Women, they go out into the forest. They pick the berries.
Mm-hmm.
They bring the berries back home. Those berries will last a week for the family to eat. And they go with the flow. They go with the seasons. They pick the berry that's in season, So that's just something that kind of came to my mind.
Yeah. No, it's important to address. I totally agree with all of that.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap up, just to kind of finish my story, I guess the story leading up to what I do now. I tried to, after like Christmas or whatever, when I was super depressed, I tried to do another show. I remember I went to the Arnold, which is like one of these big fitness expo shows, and I worked there. And I got super motivated. Oh, I dehydrated myself for that too. It was just an event, and I just I was like, I want a flat tummy, and like, didn't eat and took some diuretics, and
I'm sure you did that for photo shoots too, right?
Yeah, I did. Not to, I guess. Yeah. Well, usually you schedule your photo shoots like around your show, so it would be the same kind of like at the same time. But it was like specifically for an event. And I've heard of people do this, but I was like, I want to look like a person when I'm meeting people, But then when you get there and everybody else is tanning and dehydrating and sweating and like sitting in the sauna with hoodies on because they have to go meet people the next day. Like, I don't know. So I did that. Oh, and then you also like, there's this thing where you make your boobs bigger to make your waist smaller.
And your butt too, like.
Yeah. So after that, I guess like I was like, I want to be a part of this. Got super motivated again. And I started training for another show. A month later, that didn't work out. And this is when like, this was like the low, like the shift. So I had a coach who at the time I thought was good because he had like a medical background, when in reality he was the same as all of them. But my breaking point was, I remember having this diet, and I knew I needed to follow this diet that was like, I don't know, 900 calories. And I would like at night, okay, so I lived in Arizona, And I would like binge eat. This was like my binging escapade that would, from this point on, it would go on for probably another 6 months, I would say, up and down. Yeah, it was probably close to 6 months. Let's see, like April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Yeah, 6 months. This was awful. Like, oh my God. Sorry, I'm like kind of getting a little bit. So I there was this store that was like close to my house, the grocery store, but I wouldn't go there for my food because I was too scared somebody would see me. So I would go to like the ghetto of Phoenix and go to like a food city, where like I knew people in my circle weren't shopping, was just the point of that. And I would buy like this really cheap cereal. It was like $1, but it was like a knockoff of like Lucky Charms or Honey Bunches of Oats. And at the time I was binge eating so much that I was like wasting all my money on food, like all of it. So I would go to Food City, one, to avoid people, and two, to get really cheap cereal. Cereal was my go-to. And I would just eat a box of cereal every night on top of everything else I ate. Cereal and trail mix were like my two things.
Mm-hmm.
And I would make like little like creations and like, I don't know, like eat. It was probably like, if I count it, there were days that were like 1,000. This isn't a night. A box of cereal, the type of cereal I bought was 1,200 calories, if I remember now. And then on top of everything else. So a good day when it was just like one box of cereal and like some nuts would be 2,000 calories. A bad binge day would be like close to like the 5, the 6, the 7, especially the type of food I was choosing.
Yeah.
Because they're like nuts, like you don't eat very many to get up in the calories range. So that went on, like I said, for like 6 months. And that's when I couldn't do it. I just called my coach and I was like, I'm done. Like, I can't. So he was nice enough to get me external help. He was like, you need help. So I was going to get checked into a facility for like eating disorders. But instead, I spoke with a naturopath who he put me in contact with. And she went through the same thing. She did fitness competitions. She had my same journey. So she started helping me. Like, we did vitamin IV injections. She would also give me writing assignments in the evenings when she knew I would be binge eating. So she would email me like a writing assignment. She'd be like, research the effect of GMOs on food. You know, like all these natural things, like things she wanted me to learn about, and also to distract me from eating. So I would write her essays. This is so strange now that I look back at it.
It's an interesting technique.
Yeah, I guess at the time it worked and it made me educated. I wouldn't say it worked, like I didn't stop binge eating, but at least I was thinking about other things.
Yeah.
I will say this about one thing I'm proud of myself for. Even though like cereal was my go-to, like I said, I'm a naturally a healthy eater. When I do binge, I'll binge on like nuts and fruit and like oatmeal. I loved oatmeal. That's what I wanted to tell you about. Like oatmeal, I would eat bowls and bowls of oatmeal with like coconut oil. With so many bowls, right? So I can't say that I like ate less than any other female going through a binge eating disorder. But the type of food I was eating, I guess like, I don't know if that's what made kind of the transition out of this whole binge eating escapade easier. But it was like, at least I was eating good quality food, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because, well, I was the same. Like, I was naturally, like, I wanted to still eat healthy, so I would just binge on, like, nut butters, almond butter, peanut butter, like, jars. I would just stay up all night. And it would prevent me from, like, hanging out with my boyfriend at the time, or my friends, or my family. Like, all I could think about was when I could binge later that night, you know?
Yeah.
And ice cream was another one, because it was, I don't know if you got into purging, but I got into purging because I couldn't accept.
It was easy.
Yeah, it was easy. It was the easiest to purge back up. So
seriously,
a lot of people go to ice cream because it's so much easier. It's because you can't accept the fact, you don't understand why you're binging, because we don't connect the dots, like, oh, we're depleted, so our body's trying to make up for the lack of calories. We're just like, oh, what's wrong with me? I'm losing self-control
Yeah.
and willpower,
Yeah.
but it's completely not that.
Exactly. About the ice cream, I would buy this sugar-free ice cream that was sweetened with Splenda, which now I know is like really bad for you. But I was like, well, it's sugar-free, so two things. It was made with sugar alcohol, which makes you poop like diarrhea like crazy. So in case I didn't purge
Mm.
or didn't make myself throw up, I would still purge and like shit myself the next day from this. Like, well, like like sugar alcohol. Like if you eat lots of sugar alcohols, they cause diarrhea. Like they have a warning label on
Yeah,
the freaking thing. So
it's horrible for you.
yeah, it was awful. So that's kind of what I went through. And even when I moved to Canada, it still went on. Um, yeah, that was hard. That was really hard.
And
And
at such a young age too. I mean, that's another thing I wanted to bring up too, is that this is happening for people that are so young. I mean, these people at that age shouldn't even be thinking about that.
I
You're in developmental stages. I know people that are 12, 11 that are going through this stuff.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah, it breaks my heart. Like I had this one girl commented on my post and she was like, I have a friend who really needs to see this. It was a post about competing and why I don't compete anymore.
Mhm.
And this girl commented, she was young, like probably like 16. She's like, I have a friend who really wants to compete and I don't want her to, and I'm too scared to tag her because she'll get mad. So she private messages me and she's like, can you please tag her? And I'm like, yeah, of course. So I
Mhm.
tagged her and the girl was like, she commented back, she was like, I don't know what to think. I've been wanting to compete since I was 8.
8 years old. That
8.
is crazy. And you know why? Is because, don't get me wrong, social media can be great, but at the same time, like, social media for people at that age, they're always looking at all these Fitspo accounts, and so they're thinking like that's what they need to do in order to be worthy, or whatever, or sexy. And it's just, we need better role models in the world, like showing that that's not everything in life. Like, there's more important things in life. It's great to be healthy, but that's not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, at 8 years old, like you should be thinking about like which playground you're going to that day. Like
8 years old, what were you doing at 8 years old?
my sister's 9 now. Like my little sister, like she and honestly, like I'm having a really hard time with her. She's 9 and she thinks she's fat. She thinks her legs are big. She won't wear dresses. And I will like sometimes I'll blame myself and be like, did I start this? But I also like I don't live with her, so she comes home with these things.
Mm,
It's really heartbreaking. I
that
think
is.
it was my main motivation for like stopping and getting healthy and everything because I was like, it's not about me anymore. It's
Yeah,
all those little girls in the world.
exactly, because when you look at it, this sport, this
Mhm.
lifestyle is selfish. And so when you like look outside of yourself and start living for something more outside of yourself, that's when like these light bulb moments go off, like, oh shit, like this isn't the meaning of life. I know, some people, they have kids and a spouse, and they're like,
Mhm.
I can't be there for my family if I'm doing this. And so they make that sacrifice, but then end up like totally enjoying their life way more when they make that sacrifice. So,
Yeah,
and then they have their kids looking up to them and saying like, oh, dad or mom, like I want a 6-pack at like 6 years old, and that's what they're aspiring towards. Like,
yeah,
it's
it's
just,
really really heartbreaking. You're right. We do need better role models in the world.
yeah, like what you're doing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Thank you.
yeah. So like, what was your experience? And I mean, you kind of went over it, but like, what was your mindset like during the competition prep and the photo shoots, and then like right after?
Hmm. Like kind of what made me like what made me get up every morning at 4 in the morning?
Yeah, what kept you going, and you know
Yes. Um, yeah, like hmm, what kept me going? I really just wanted to prove everyone wrong. Like I said, I was fighting with a lot of coaches and
mhm.
I needed to be like in control of my life. And I was like, if I do this, if I compete another time, then I'll get more followers, I'll get more credibility, and I'll be sponsored and I'll make money doing this. because that's what you see on social media. You're like, oh, she's posting this product. She probably gets paid a lot of money for it. It's not a lot of money. Um, it's not enough to live off of. I mean, literally every single person on social media, they're like, I could probably count on my one hand how many people actually make a full-time living off of this.
Yeah.
How many people just pretend they do, but really are working night shifts at the hospital or working at a restaurant serving. That was my case. I was serving at a restaurant when I first started, and then I quit that because I was like, I'm going to make fitness my career, and that didn't work. So I became a personal trainer, which made decent money, but that's like a different profession. That's like in the health field, like you're helping other people get healthy.
Yeah.
So, and I was also training like only women. I was training a lot of like pregnant people, and like it was a lot of fun. Like it was a small private studio. It wasn't like those trainers at like LA Fitness or those chain gyms.
Yeah.
So I had a good job. But my mindset, like I would wake up at 4:15 in the morning to do cardio. And like I said, I would wake up, my mindset is going to be like, or my mindset was like, I'm better than everybody else because I can push myself this far. And like I would go to the gym early in the morning. I would drink coffee, like really, I would want my coffee really hot so that it almost burnt my throat. It's crazy how some of the things are like so self-destructive, even the little things. Like my coffee was so hot, I wanted it to like burn my throat and to heat my body up because I thought I would burn more calories. And I would take my fat burner and I'd go on the Stairmaster and like listen to really loud music, which probably would like blow out my eardrums. And I would literally think that I'm this little badass and that I'm better than everybody else because I wake up at 4 a.m. and don't eat and go on like 5 hours of sleep. When in reality, it was just caffeine and fat burners and so.
Been there, totally understand.
Yeah.
I remember just crying having to do the fasted AM cardio and
Would you cry during it? Like sometimes I would have legit tears.
No, I would cry and scream like, what the, like, I hate this. Like I would sometimes scream, sometimes I would do it at my house because I had some equipment and I just remember like screaming and crying like this sucks. Just like counting down the days and minutes and hours until the competition. And the photo shoots too, though. I mean, I did the same. I took my body to the extreme for the photo shoots too. So.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's really crazy.
Yeah. So like, so you broke out of this and now, I mean, you're just exuding confidence and self-acceptance and you know you have a beautiful body now and your message is beautiful. I mean, how can you share like how you made this transition? I mean, how did you come from shaming and degrading your body to accepting and loving yourself just wherever you're at in life?
I think it's a journey. Like that's the first thing I had to realize is it's a journey and mine isn't going to look like anybody else's and nobody else is going to look like it's mine.
Yeah.
What helped was changing my environment. I think I read something at the time that was like, you know, a flower can't bloom in the ocean and coral reef can't grow in the desert. You know, so you need your optimal environment. I mean, you're not crazy if you're not blooming around people who don't support you or energy that doesn't lift you up. So I was blessed that I had the opportunity to move to Canada and switch schools here. Like I go to university here now and make that all happen. Sorry. So that was one thing. When I moved from Arizona, and Arizona is really like, I'm sure a lot of people are watching from California. It's like California in that it's the West and people love to work out. Fitness is hyped and people are always like half naked. Like, you know, swim season is all the time and like everything. Here in Canada, it's a little different. Like people don't care what you look like. Canada's really accepting. I've heard the Midwest is the same thing, like more like accepting. People are more down to earth. It's more nature, like it's super green here. So the nature was really healing. I would go on a lot of hikes.
That's like the best thing you can do. Like if you're struggling, just go out to nature and, you know, get away from all the stimulation and out, it's the most healing. And then you can actually reflect and be like, wow, what's more important to me?
Exactly. So yeah, and then it was really hard. I still struggled. All of last year was awful. I'd go up and down, like feeling happy and then still eating so much. And I think the turning point was probably actually, I would say earlier this year, where I was just kind of like, you know what, the more, I don't know if it's like fake it till you make it, because self-acceptance is really internal, but you can't expect to do and think old thoughts and have different results.
Exactly.
I was like, what if I just tried? Like, what if I just, I don't know, posted about what I was going through on social media? What if because I was like, I'm not alone. Like, I knew I wasn't alone. Um, and then what else did I do? Oh, one thing in terms of like practical, like actually like an action that I implemented with my binge eating, it was still happening. And, what I did was I refused to restrict, and I made sure that I would eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I made sure that I ate a lot of vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
and I would make like a big tray of vegetables. And it was a lot of vegetables. Like, seriously, it was crazy amounts. But after I ate that, then I would be like, okay, like whatever, you can binge. Like, at least you got some nutrients in, as opposed to just like ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped because I think my body was feeling more nourished. And even though I was still binging, from binging, it went to like overeating or eating past the point of being full or like feeling uncomfortable. But it wasn't so much like I was just eating jars of peanut butter. It would get less and less. And I think that's just because I don't know, I was just like, this is just what's going to happen. I just stopped putting the restriction. Like, I don't know. I knew it was something that I would have to accept, that yes, I'm going to gain weight. I probably gained more weight when I was just eating and not restricting and not purging than when I was binging and purging. Everybody's bodies are different. Like, some people, they're like, oh, I'm eating more and I'm losing weight. That's not me. And some people like gain a lot of weight when they binge and purge.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Anyways, so that's off topic, but I gained more weight then when I like refused to restrict myself. So it was just like the fact of the matter. I don't know how I accepted it. I just did. And I bought clothes that fit me. I was really in denial for a little bit, and I would like be really down on myself about it. And then I would just step by step, like I would be like, okay, like, it's fine. I'll buy a size 10 pants, even though I was a size 2 last year or 6 months prior, I guess.
Yeah.
But at least they fit me. At least I can go outside and feel a little bit more comfortable.
Exactly. When you try to put on your old clothes, then you just feel shitty about yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I'll be honest with you guys, like I still have some old clothes that I'm kind of hoarding, that I think like one day, but you know what? Like when that day comes, I can buy new clothes then. So
Exactly. That's the way to think, really, in the moment. It's like
yeah.
there's an abundance, okay, right now, like I need this. This is working for me. And in the future, if anything changes, then there will always be something that will be there for me to provide.
Exactly. Yeah, that time with family really helps.
Mm-hmm.
I think like my family was really supportive, so I was really blessed. And even though like my mom didn't get it, and when I first told her, there was about a week where we just didn't talk because she thought that she misunderstood. She thought I was blaming her. She thought that I was me, that I was messed up, that whatever. But then she called me and apologized, and then she was like, okay, what can I do? And I'm not gonna lie, like even now she'll still like mess up with stuff she says, like, and now that I have a head on my shoulders, I'm like, Mom, don't say that. Like, just don't say that, right? But at the time it would be like devastating. I was like, why would you say I eat too much?
Yeah.
And they come from, it's the intention. I know it's same with my boyfriend. Like sometimes he would say the wrong thing and we had fights about it, and I'm like, do not know, but like they don't know.
Yeah. The people, you can't understand until you go through it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but still being around them, knowing that even if you're fighting, knowing that they're fighting for your health, they're fighting for your well-being. The people that really do love and care about you. I'm not talking about people on social media.
Yeah.
But the people that like are really trying to understand or trying to help or like, you know, my boyfriend do things, well, like, why don't we just go on runs in the morning? I'm like, I don't want to fucking run. And at the time it seemed like the worst thing, but now it's like, wow, what a supportive boyfriend. Like he would be willing to like wake up in the morning and like go run with me to help me with what I'm going through. You know what I mean? Like that's a pretty noble thing to do, I would say. Um, so yeah, family, like people that care about you, nature, um, meditation is one. I actually just recently discovered it because like I won't, like now I don't binge eat. That's the thing. I don't binge eat, but I can't say that I'm like completely eating intuitively or I hear my body's hunger signals really well. Like, no, they're still a little bit messed up. There's still times when I overeat, probably more often than not, that I'll feel like, wow, like I kind of feel uncomfortable or, you know, or some things that I crave that I'm like, this probably isn't optimal at this point in time. But something I found actually just the past few weeks is meditation. It's huge. Like I literally get chills when I talk about it. I can't even explain what a difference it's made. Just 5 minutes of sitting still and breathing.
It's a powerful tool. I go in and out and I wish I was more consistent, but that's life. And so I just have to accept it. But yeah, meditation is I feel so much better when I do it. And I'm in that down right now. I need to get back into it, but it's a good reminder. But I mean, so what does your meditation routine look like? Is it in the morning? Is it, you know, do you like sit?
So mine, it's honestly, I was so caught up in judging it. I was so caught up in like, I don't know how to do this, or like judging what it would look like. I'm like, I'm by myself. Like, why am I even thinking about this? Which is crazy. Like we judge ourselves so hard. But I kind of got over that. And what I do is first I make a sacred space, you know, like I put a yoga mat down, I put like a blanket, I have like a book by Osho. He's like a spiritual teacher. He's like Buddha. And then I have a journal in case I want to write something. I brew some tea. I do it first thing in the morning, usually on an empty stomach. Like I'll drink some water and I'll wash my face and stuff. I'm not like that hardcore person that just like goes and first thing. Like I have to kind of wake up a little bit and be present. So I'll like wash my face, brush my teeth, and then drink some water. And I start by putting on music. Like if you just search meditation playlist, and the music, I mean, music is energy. It's so much neuroscience goes behind music that even just putting that on while you're like making your tea or brushing your teeth or whatever, like the music makes you want to meditate. So after that point, like when you just turn on a playlist on Spotify or whatever, like it becomes kind of easy. Like you want to do it, you know? And it feels cool. Like, not gonna lie, I feel pretty cool. You know, I'll burn my incense, you know, and I'll be like, wow, like I'm totally a hippie right now. So, I mean, you kind of, that's the other thing that, one thing I have to mention about like kind of recovering, like don't take yourself too seriously. I know like, yeah, recovery is a journey. I know it's something to be taken seriously. An eating disorder is not a joke. You need professional help when you need it. And you need that support and whatever the protocol is. I personally didn't have professional help. So one thing I would do, and this would be like in any low point in my life, I joke about it. You know, like sometimes I'll be eating a box of cereal, you know, like last year, and I'd be like, wow, like I'm crying right now about cereal. And there are people that have nothing. And I was like, Mary, how do you have the audacity to cry about cereal? And I'll like laugh at myself. And then my boyfriend will come home and he'll be like, what have you been up to? And I'm like, oh, just ate this box of cereal. Like, fuck, you know? And just kind of like, it sucks. But like, even just letting out one chuckle about it, about how like, you know, this is the problem that we're facing is there's too much of everything. There's too much media, too much stimulation, too many goals, too many opportunities, too much food, there's just too much. And that's the problem that we have nowadays. Like, that's a blessing.
Yeah, I know.
That's a blessing. So sometimes, like I said, or I'll be like walking around the kitchen and I'm like, okay, I just ate 6 apples. Like, seriously, like who does that? And I'll laugh at myself, but it, you know, life goes on. Yeah, with the meditation thing, same thing, you know, I'm like, wow, like I feel cool. And I'll kind of like chuckle about it. And like, you know, I'll post it on my Instagram story and I'll be like, look how hippie I am. When in reality, I'm just smelling the incense and
Yeah. People take it too seriously. I mean, humor is the best thing. I used to be so serious too, and I look back and I'm like, really? That's not a way to live. But now finding the humor in everything, it just makes life so much better.
Totally. And like people kind of get upset about it when you say that. Some people are like, you don't get it, you don't get how hard it is. And I've been in that place. It's still so good to shift into humor. Like if you talk to any if you read any like Holocaust survivor things or like war veterans and they'll interview them and they'll be like, how did you get through World War II? And they'd be like, my sense of humor, my guys and our sense of humor,
Mhm.
we'd have a couple shots of alcohol and laugh our asses off while in like trench warfare, right? Like, and I mean that, but that's like worst case scenario, like your sense of humor will help you when recovering from an eating disorder or disordered eating patterns.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I'm glad that you brought that up because some people can get very offended, and I get it. It's a serious topic, it's a real thing. But it's just a reminder, to, find the humor and the light in certain situations. It'll just
Yeah.
help so much.
Yeah. And people always say like an eating disorder is a mental illness. Like you wouldn't laugh at somebody with diabetes. And I'm like, I'm not saying to laugh at other people. I'm saying like, don't take yourself too seriously. Like joke and find some joy in it. Like I have a lot of friends that have diabetes or cancer, everything. They're probably the most happiest people in the world because they know what true problems are and they know how blessed they are to have what they have because they're dying, and people that I know with cancer that, have a shorter lifespan or than we think we do, I guess, like they're always joking around, they're having fun, they're living life. So if you really want to use that argument of like, oh, it's a disease, like any physical disease, it's just a mental disease, well then yeah, the same principles apply, you know, just one day at a time, get the medical help, enjoy it, it's a
Yeah.
journey. So
Exactly. And so if you're taking it too seriously, it's a journey. It's not overnight. It's going to be a long time. So why not try to enjoy it as much as you can? It
yeah.
can be a very powerful and fun time in your life
Yeah,
if you
exactly. And I
fun.
will say, like, even when I was competing, even when I was like starving, like me and my girlfriends, we would laugh about it. You know,
Yeah.
we'd be like, "Oh fuck, gotta go do cardio now," and we would
Yeah.
laugh because that was also a hard time. So,
Yes.
I mean, pick your poison, right? Either
Mhm.
way, like you gotta enjoy life a little bit.
Yeah. I remember because after like the fitness, I got into like raw veganism and that was the worst time of my health, I can say, but I had people that I was in contact with like all over, like in Canada too, and we would talk every day and we would just talk and laugh about how horrible we were feeling and like
Mm,
everything that we were going through, but that helped
yeah,
even though we were feeling like death, but it helped.
yeah.
It's crazy. But
And if there's one piece of advice I'd like give somebody, it's like find an asshole friend. Like
yes,
everybody has a friend who's just an asshole.
yes,
They're such an asshole that you expect
yeah.
that from them, so you
Yeah.
don't really even get mad at them when they say something ridiculous. So
Mhm.
like I have a friend who would always give it to me straight up, and she'll always say the wrong thing. But I wouldn't even get mad at her as much as I would get mad at my mom or my boyfriend because I just expect that from her. And she would kind of like lighten my mood and make me see things a bit objectively and like, make me want to punch her in the face. So that would make me want to think about something else.
Yeah.
Like everybody needs that like shitty friend that
Yeah.
those are usually the people that stick around longest though, not gonna lie.
Well, they're real and they're authentic. They're not walking on eggshells trying to please you.
Yeah,
They're just real and upfront and they call you on your bullshit. We all need that.
yeah, we do. And being treated like a victim never
Mhm.
helps the victim,
Oh,
you
you
know?
need to be challenged.
Yeah,
And if someone's like enabling a certain behavior, that's not challenging you. You
yeah,
need someone to be like, that doesn't sound right. Like, what are you
exactly.
doing?
Yeah. It's like parenting. Like no spoiled kid turns out doing amazing things
Yeah.
more often than not, right? So yeah. By the way, this is just an inversion table. I know it looks kind of strange, but it's for your back. It's supposed to like stretch out your back. So yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have one of those too. Yours is way more high tech than mine, though. Mine's old.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks really strange, so I should have probably put it in the other room, but
Yeah. Live
uh,
is living.
yeah, wait one second here. Yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay. Well, Hey, we've been talking for quite some time now, so I guess we should wrap it up. But we should definitely do this again in the future because there's just so
Yeah.
much to share.
Yeah.
And yeah, so where can people find you? Like Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Mary's Cup of Tea with 2 A's. If you do 1 A at the end, then it'll take you to like some French girl. Still fighting her for my name, but it's okay. Mary's Cup of Tea with 2 A's.
Mhm.
That's the same for my Facebook, Mary's Cup of Tea with 2 A's, and my YouTube. Same thing. I just started a YouTube channel, so I'm hoping to make more videos to talk about more things. Yeah, so, and also like I love answering every single comment and like talking to people. So I'm not I'm not that fitness girl or whatever where you just like look at her and wish you could be
No, you're inspirational. I love following you. I'm so glad I found you on Instagram. I love your posts. You put out really good quality, and it's a balanced quality. It's good. This is the role model we're talking about.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kayla. That means
So
a
go
lot.
follow her. So
You as
yeah,
well.
no, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, yeah, we'll wrap it up here, and then yeah, we'll
Awesome. Oh, and I also want to mention on Facebook, I have like a free what is it called? It's kind of like 5 pages. I don't know if it's an ebook, but kind of like a free PDF, which goes over like some ways to like self-love. And it's some of the things I talked about here, like the meditation and like, I go through some of the teas that I drink. I love tea. It's really helped me a lot to be grounded. That's where Mary's Cup of Tea comes from, I guess. And yeah, I talk about like kind of different ways you can practice loving and accepting yourself. So I think that's very valuable, and that's on Facebook if you just click the sign up button.
nice. So does it direct you to your website to download? Like they enter their email? Okay.
You can download it right away. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I have one of those too.
Awesome.
It's nice. I'll have to check it out. I checked out your YouTube video though, which was really good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. More to come, but thank you so much, Kayla, for having me on. It was really a pleasure, and I've never like talked like this before, so I really want to thank you and acknowledge you for creating such a safe space for me and your viewers and your audience, and just being wonderful and shining light on things that are kind of uncomfortable and radical to talk about. So thank you. Of
Thank you. Yeah, we need to talk about this stuff. So thank you for being open.
course.
It's courageous.
Yeah.
So, all
All the
right.
bye, everyone.